During an investigation on the Titanic shipwreck, researchers noticed a strange thing. At the bottom of the sea, the next part of the ship was in pretty good condition, while the last part was in extremely bad condition, and that too was 2,000 feet away. No doubt, for 100 years, iron and steel rotted away at the bottom of the sea. But if these two were part of the same ship and sank at the same time, then why was there such a big difference in the next and last part? Researchers believe that on the night of the accident, apart from colliding with the iceberg, something else happened to the Titanic that caused more damage to its last part. But the question is, what was it? Viewer, the night in 1912 when the Titanic had an accident, it was located 700 kilometers from Newfoundland, Canada, in the middle of a dark sea. At the time of the accident, a total of 2,240 people were on board, of which 1,500 lost their lives. The one who was called unsinkable, before the power of nature, suddenly became the eyes of the Black Sea. The eyewitnesses of this accident were only those people who somehow got out of the ship and jumped into the cold water of the Atlantic Ocean. From the collision of the iceberg to the sinking of the ship, no one else had a record of what happened except for those eyewitnesses who were busy fighting the cold water. The first rescue ship, RMS Carpathia, also reached there after an hour and a half after the sinking of the Titanic. It was also fortunate that they got the emergency message of the Titanic, otherwise the people who were fighting the battle of life and death in the cold water would not have survived. And no one knew about the Titanic accident until today. During the investigation, no one knew what had happened to the ship, but then the survivors said that the ship had collided with an iceberg. These statements were also confirmed by looking at the iceberg on the spot, on which the red paint of the Titanic was still applied. After the accident, looking at the eyewitnesses and evidence, it was said in the investigation report that the iceberg had left a 300-foot hole on the right side of the Titanic. That is, a third of the entire side of the Titanic was torn. But on the other hand, the eyewitnesses said that it took about 2.5 hours to sink the ship. Investigators believe that if the iceberg had really left a 300-foot hole on the Titanic, then it would not have sunk in 2.5 hours, but in a few minutes. But no one could know what the truth was at that time. To know the truth, it was necessary to find the Titanic ship. The search for the Titanic continued for many years, and every passing year, this mystery became more and more serious. Finally, after 73 years, when the Titanic was found, it was a big breakthrough for the marine industry. It was time to find the answers to all the questions that the Titanic had left behind. For decades, the Titanic's iceberg had been present in the black darkness at a depth of 4,000 meters in the Atlantic Ocean. Many expeditions were arranged that captured countless photos of the shipwreck. Oceanic explorer P.H. Nerschele has visited the Titanic more than 30 times, but he has never seen a 300-foot hole. However, in this profile photo of the Titanic, this 30-foot area shows that something had come here. Its area is only 11 square feet. And according to calculations, 370 gallons of water could have accumulated in the Titanic in every second. Filling water at this speed means that the water in the entire ship would have been filled in a total of 2.5 hours. And according to eyewitnesses, it took 2.5 hours for the Titanic to sink. That is, a mystery has been solved that there was not a 300-foot hole in the Titanic, but only a 30-foot crack. But this was not the only mystery. There was still a lot to know. During the investigation on the Titanic shipwreck, the researchers were not able to understand how the next part of the ship, which is called the bow, is in better condition than its previous part, i.e. the stern. And why is there so much distance between the two? To solve this mystery, high-tech sonar scanning technology was used. ROVs captured millions of photos of the Titanic shipwreck site and converted them into a 3D model with the help of computer graphics. In this model, there were also all the details that normally no ordinary camera or human eye can see in this depth. In the model, it can be seen that all decks of the 392 feet long stern are inserted into each other as if it is not a steel ship but a paper ship. Different parts are separated from the ship and scattered around. There are only two large engines the size of a house attached to it. There is another important sign hidden in this model, the sign that tells about the condition of the stern. When the stern collided with the ocean floor 110 years ago, its marks are still printed here, which can only be seen through a 3D model. It is evident from these marks that when the stern collided with the ocean floor, it was rotating anti-clockwise. Scientists can guess from these marks that the stern was going into the water at a speed of 80 km per hour at that time. When the stern was going into the water at such a speed, the forces generated by the water lifted the loose parts of the ship, and when it collided with the ocean floor 4 km below, all its decks got stuck inside each other. On the other hand, as you can see that the bow section and the front section are hydrodynamic. This means that it can cut water easily, just like a ship cuts water while floating on water and makes its way. This is the reason why the bow section was neither rotating nor the forces of water were directly attacking it. Finally, another mystery of the incident that happened 110 years ago was also solved. But there is another question that is very important to find the answer to. That is, when did the Titanic ship split into two parts? As you know, the eyewitness reported that the ship broke into two parts. It has been believed for years that the Titanic was divided into two parts before it sank. This news is quite true, but it is not the whole truth. When the water filled in the bow section, it went into the water, which caused the entire weight of the stern section to fall on the pivot point, i.e. the center. This center point could not bear so much weight and broke into two parts. But the 3D model made by sonar scanning is telling a different story. Yes, if you look at it, the equipment inside the Titanic is scattered far and wide on the ocean floor. It also has coffee cups, dinner plates, chandeliers, deck benches, and personal belongings of people. 90% of these items are of the stern section. A total of more than 10,000 items are scattered throughout this area, which makes up an area of about 3.2 square kilometers. If this section had separated from the bow section above the water, it would have spread to a larger area than 3.2 square kilometers as it reached the ocean floor. As you can see in this animation. Therefore, experts believe that this section broke above the water, but it separated from the bow section and came close to the ocean floor. And then while rotating, it changed its direction and fell 2,000 feet away. Today, the body of the RMS Titanic is completely rusted. Scientists believe that oxygen is very low in the depth of the ocean, which is why the rusting process is also very slow. But when some samples of rust were taken out and tested, it was found that the rust was due to oxygen released from the bacteria. Experts believe that the faster the rust is being applied to it, in the coming years, all the flaws of the Titanic will fall on each other and then it will lose its original shape forever. I hope you will like and share this video of Zem TV. Thank you very much for your loving comments. See you in the next great video.